What's the most badass thing you've done? I was young, probably 11. I had a kid try to tackle me from behind and I flipped him over my shoulder. It was fucking dope. I did the same thing, but it was freshman year football. To be honest, I didn't even realize what happened. I think he just kinda ran into me and I didn't budge. I was bent over so I didn't even see him coming. When I was going through my shithead phase as an 8-year-old, I once got pissed off because a 5th grader cut me in line, so I jumped onto his back and clung on like a fucking monkey, but then he grabbed and flipped me over his head and I hit the ground hard. Naturally, I cried and said I did nothing wrong. A while back I looked outside my house to see the sky was overcast, so I lifted up my hands and snapped my fingers and lightning flashed right in front of my house. I felt hella badass after that moment, and recently I thought back to that moment and decided to snap my fingers again, and then a power surge or a short outage took place in my house. This was late in the night BTW. One day I will learn to master this power I have over electricity and exploit it for my own lazy benefits. I did pretty much the opposite once. My buddy has a house and a boat on Lake Lure in North Carolina, and one night we were out on the water super late and we had been drinking pretty much all day. I was making some impromptu impassioned speech about God knows what, and I slapped my hand down on the windshield of the boat right as I made my final point. It just so happened that at that exact same moment all of the lights around the entire lake shut off. Instant pitch black except the stars, but it was pretty damn cloudy that night, so not much light at all. I thought I broke something and my buddies and I freaked out for a bit until my friend who owns the boat called the power company, only to find out they just had a mandatory maintenance shut off for a few hours. Kinda lame, but it was fun docking the boat by iPhone flashlight alone though. Not my most badass moment, but once in 3rd grade, we were playing dodgeball with those iconic red rubber balls. And my 2 friends happened to be on the other team that day, and well, I had a ball, fucking whipped it at one of my friends, cracked him straight in the face, the ball bounced off, only to hit my other friend right in his face. I got a collateral headshot in dodgeball. By far my favorite elementary school moment. I was pumping gas at a station with my sister, me being 19 at the time and her being 16, when a man, probably like 25 years old, got into the back seat of my car. I started to yell at him to get out of my car. My sister was shaking scared. He then pulled a gun on me and told me to get in the car and drive. Without even thinking, I started to make him question himself by saying, "Or what? Are you going to shoot me right here in this well-lit gas station? There are other people around, did you really think this through?" He started to look around, called me a stupid bitch, got out of the car and ran off. I had a gun pulled on me twice. First time I dropped flat to the floor. Second time I was working at a liquor store and I pulled one back. The guy pissed himself and ran. When I was around 11, my mom's ex-husband was in the other room beating the shit out of her. I had finally had enough and I just called the police and hung up because I knew they'd come, but I couldn't let him hear me talking. I then started recording with my phone so I could have it for when the cops got there. The cops showed up 10 minutes later because we lived in a small town at the time. They came just in time to save my mom's life. My mom's ex-husband had been loading his gun. I often think about how things would have gone down if I just let it happen like I let it happen all those years before. This is probably not as badass as everyone else's story, but my mom thinks it is. When I was 18, I was an EMT. My first emergency call, after we got the guy to the ER alive, the ER doctor looked at me and said, "Do you know what you did? You just saved that man's life." I'm 23 now and EMS wasn't the career for me, but I still think about that moment a lot. Guy pulled a knife on me when I was a bit tipsy and waiting for a bus and demanded my wallet. Without thinking, I hit him in the jaw and knocked him out cold. Stole his knife and walked away. Still have the knife somewhere around here. I was sitting in a chair and I threw a gummy bear up and hit a really high ceiling and I caught it in my mouth without moving uncomfortably to catch it. That's where I peaked emo. In my high school stats class, we did an experiment where we all threw 10 goldfish crackers to ourselves and to a partner, trying to catch them in our mouth so we could compare the data. I went 10/10 on both and was an outlier. Needless to say, I was quite popular. I chased a man down at the mall who had stolen a woman's purse, tackled him, and restrained him until security showed up. Then went to Cinnabon and treated myself. I ate the Cinnabon in one bite. It was the most badass thing I've ever done to date. My brother and I are close in age, so we grew up always playing on the same hockey team together. I'm a girl who's 1 year older than him and was often the only girl on the team. Anyways, during one particular game when he was 11 and I was 12, this one kid on the other team kept on picking on my brother. He finally illegally tripped my brother and my brother slid headfirst into the boards. The kid got a penalty and went into the box. I decided that when he got out I was going to make my revenge. As soon as he got out I skated towards him at full speed, put my stick between his feet and flipped him onto his head with one swift motion. Looked down at him and told him to leave my little brother alone. Then happily skated over to the penalty box while my parents cheered me on from the stands. All the kids on my team thought it was pretty badass, so I'm pretty sure that's the most badass thing I've done. It's also one of my favorite memories. I was on a tall rock at a beach and I pretended to waterbend a giant wave right as a big wave crashed at the base of my rock and the water rose like 20 feet in the air in front of me. Felt pretty cool. Doing a hazmat response all suited up where I had to contain water reactive and air reactive chemicals that were in an exploded glove box with nitrogen pouring out, blood everywhere from the researcher involved on a timer to beat the emptying nitrogen cylinder. So I was chilling at my really rich friend's house in high school with a few buddies just smoking a joint outside in the winter, and we hear whimpering/crying. We notice his dog is missing, and soon after our worst fear becomes reality as we see it's him we heard out on the frozen lake. He walked a good 200 feet out and fell through. Freaking out and stoned, we run to the neighbor's beach that was closer to him, get in their canoe and start chopping through the ice, pushing ourselves forward inch by inch. About 2/3 of the way out I broke the solid wood or clean in half trying to force ourselves out to him. We make it there and somehow he's still managing to stay afloat in the freezing water after being stuck at least 15 to 20 minutes. I was at the front of the boat so I got to him first. Now keep in mind this is an absolutely soaked 90 lb, dry, dog and I'm 5 feet 7 inches 120 pounds, but thanks to adrenaline I pulled him out like he was a chihuahua. We get him to the nearest animal hospital, which was like 25 miles away since it was late at night, and he made it. Lived another 10 years after that. Got an inflatable kayak, flipped somewhere between class 3 and 4 rapids on the Colorado River. Was drugged down about 10 to 12 feet, came up under the kayak, had to get out from under it in the rapids. Gathered all my gear back in the water and didn't even lose the sunglasses off my face somehow. Also found out a kid died in that same spot a week prior. So when I was like 10, my little league baseball team got into the final game. It was really intense because we were in the 10th inning when there is usually only 6. We were tied for a while. It was looking like the end of the game for my team because we had 2 outs and they were up by 1. There was a guy on second and S guy on third. I was up at bat with 2 strikes. I was prob the worst player on the team at that time. But anyways, what would be the final pitch comes. I swing and I connected with the ball. It flew right over first and both of the guys on base got home and we won. All my team came out of the dugout running towards me shouting, "MVP! MVP!" That is prob my proudest moment ever. I know it isn't much compared to the other stories, but I am proud of it. Buddy of mine in college had an absolutely awful string of family members passing away. He had booked his Amtrak ticket home for something like the 3rd time that semester. The last time he did that, he was 2 days delayed because of a cargo train derailment on the same tracks. While he was sleeping, I used my Northwest Airlines miles to book him a ticket home in first class. He deserved it and I had earned them just riding back and forth to home. My first week as a security guard on bike patrol. I saved a 19-year-old young woman from committing suicide on the top of a 6-story parking garage. She had just lost a preemie. Sad face. A bouncer at a club stopped me from going out onto the smoking patio and demanded I show him my tits before he let me pass. I was drunk and in a shit mood, and I hauled off and punched him hard just about right between his stomach and his breastbone. I am short, he was tall, so it was a straight punch on my part and he was not expecting it. He kind of gasped, his eyes got wide, and he staggered backwards a few steps and sat down hard on a bar stool behind him. I walked out on the smoking patio and told my friends, I think I just fucked up pretty hard and we're probably going to get thrown out, I hope they don't call the cops. Nope, when we went to go back in, the bouncer was like, go right ahead, ma'am. Long story short, 2 guys tried to make my friend kill himself and he tired to end it right there. I stopped him and beat the living daylights out of the 2 guys. Thanks for watching. Go comment below if you want a part 2. Like and subscribe if you like our content. It helps with the YouTube algorithm.